Ladies, we are here tonight on the show. We're here, and tonight I want to talk about this shit. All right. So lately, if you've been watching the NBA, you've been seeing that James Harden has been unbelievable lately, dropping 40, dropping 50, left and right, left and right, left and right. But this man is doing it all by himself. He is doing it all by himself. And I think eventually it's going to catch up to him. And sometimes I feel that this is why sometimes he does not show up in the playoffs. It's not because he's not clutch or because he's like nervous or scared. This whole thing we're seeing right now, everybody's so excited about James Harden dropping 45, dropping 55, all this shit. It's going to get fatigued eventually. And come playoff time, it's going to affect them. This is why James Harden never can come up big in like around May in the playoffs because of the shit he has to do right now. This whole shit about having to carry this team. They don't have nobody. Chris Paul is out. Clint Capella's out. Eric Gordon is out. He is basically killing this team. That's fantastic. Shout out to James Harden. But this will bite him in the ass come April, come May. They have got to find a way to get some help. Everybody's so excited about James Harden right now. But trust me, this is why James Harden, he leads the league in usage rate. He's the most player that has the basketball in his hands making plays. No one does more for his team than James Harden does for Houston. And I'm telling you, this will bite him in the ass. Not only James Harden, but the entire team come the playoffs. It has in the past. Tommy! I feel that sometimes I wonder, is it that he's not clutch? Because it's always the same thing, especially this year. He does fantastic in the season, and then comes the playoffs, he struggles. And I think it has to do with right now. I think this is where we can go back this year. If he were to fall flat on his face in like April, May, you can go back to this time around this year and say, yeah, well, look what he was doing in the season in January when Chris Paul and everybody else was hurt. He was dropping 45, 57 a night. They have got to find a way to get him help and take a little bit off his plate. Because right now it's fantastic what he's doing. He's probably once again the MVP favorite. But if they want to, for me, I feel like James Harden accomplished the MVP last year. I feel his next goal should try to be win a championship. And Tommy, I feel that you are not going to win a championship like this. He has got to get help. He's got to get defenders. He's got to get three-point shooting because this whole shit he's doing right now, it's fantastic. It might get him another league MVP, but it will bite him in the ass come April, come May. When he has to make the big plays, he's not going to be able to because he's going to be fatigued. Daryl Morey has got to find a way to make some moves. They have to. I made a video about it a while ago. If it makes sense, you should trade Chris Paul. Like I said in the past, if it makes sense, trade Chris Paul. I know, who's going to want Chris Paul? He gets hurt a lot. Look at that big contract. Try it. You need to try it. Trying doesn't hurt. Try calling the league, call somebody, and see if they're desperate enough, and you just, because Chris Paul, he's a very talented guy, but he's always hurt. And I just feel like you're wasting James. In a way, everybody talks about Anthony Davis getting wasted his prime. Same thing with James Harden. In a way, you are wasting his prime with trying to pair him up with a guy like Chris Paul because Chris Paul is always hurt. And like I said, maybe he can look at this as a positive. He'll be fresh late in the season for the playoffs. Well, who's to say he's not going to come back, be good, and then get hurt again? It's always the same story with Chris Paul. He's a good player when he's on the floor, but at the same time, a lot of times he's not there on the floor because he's hurt. And so I look at the situation, fantastic what James Harden is doing, but once again, we're seeing this shit in January. you know? And what's going to happen come May when you really have to make the big plays? He's not going to be able to possibly because he's going to be fatigued from the entire time he had to carry the team on his back. You have got to find a way to bring a star or some good players that can take some of the pressure off him. If you ask Frankie, Jelly, everybody else who's a Houston Rockets fan, they will tell you, I'd rather have him have an average season and do some of the stuff he's doing right now, do it in the playoffs. Everybody in a heartbeat will tell you, I'd rather have him have an average season, be like fifth in MVP, whatever, but then do some of the stuff he's doing right now, do it in the playoffs. But the reason he can't is because he does not have help. He just doesn't. Right now, look at the injury report. Eric Gordon, Clint Capella, Chris Paul, all hurt. Like I said, if it makes sense, trade Chris Paul and at least maybe get a fucking three-point shooting or fucking defenders, you know, because Chris Paul, it's almost like it's not worth having him at this moment because he's been hurt for like a month now. Everybody, I'm telling you right now, this will come back and bite Houston in the ass. All of the entire energy that James Harden is wasting right now, dropping 57 points, and come April, May, it's going to bite him in the ass. He's going to be fatigued. It happens. Westbrook goes through the same thing too. That's why Westbrook this year, he's almost starting to give it up more to Paul George because, you know, last year he seemed exhausted in that first round series versus the Utah Jazz. You know, so you have to be a little bit smarter and you got to kind of pace yourself through the season. But unfortunately, James Harden cannot do that because he does not fucking have any talent around him. You know, so like I said, if it makes sense, trade Chris Paul, even if it's just for maybe 2 or 3 role players that are at least going to be out there the entire time. Chris Paul, he's fantastic, but he's always hurt. There's no point of having this man if he's always hurt. And I'm sure if Houston could do it again, you could go back to the summer. They don't give him the extension. Last year, possibly cost them the series versus the Warriors where Chris Paul got hurt. And right now, look at him. He's been out most of the season with a leg injury. If they could do it all over, I'm pretty sure they don't give him the extension they gave him. It sucks. I hate it for Chris Paul. I love the guy. I think he's very talented. I think he's an excellent human being. But you can't depend on a guy who's always hurt to try to win you a championship. You just can't. You just cannot. And if I'm Daryl Morey, I'm at least trying to trade Chris Paul and trying to get at least 2-3 role players, nowhere as good as Chris Paul, but can at least be there to help James Harden out at times. Because right now, it's James Harden and a bunch of future McDonald's workers. I'm serious. Now you lost Clint Capella. He's going to be out for a while with a broken finger. They're saying 1 to 2 months. Chris Paul doesn't have a timetable to come back. Eric Gordon's been hurt for a while. How much more can James Harden take from this shit? It's fantastic what he's doing right now. Trust me, it is. He might win another MVP. But you're not going to win a championship like this because come April, May, he's going to be fatigued. We've seen this shit in the past. He leads the league in usage rate. No one uses a player more than James Harden uses Houston. Houston uses James Harden. So you have got to find a way to get this man some help because I can already see the future. I feel like that's so Raven. That's so Raven. You know what I mean? I feel like I can see the future. Come April, May, second round, he's going to fall apart. Because we've seen this movie before. Every time it happens, he has fantastic season, and then April and May come around, and he just didn't have anything left. Leads the league in usage rate. You gotta pace yourself, but the first thing to do, the first thing to be able to try to pace yourself is have help. James Harden does not have any help around him. Chris Paul must be traded because there's no point of having him if he's always hurt. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I have to say tonight on the show. I want to thank all of you, the fans, for coming on tonight on the show. And until next time, I'm out like a light, out like a light, out like a light, out like a motherfucking light. You fucking smell me? Farewell to you, the fans. Until next time, I will see you later. Oh shit. Why don't you make me a... What the fuck is happening on that shit right now? Why can't I shut that off? Why does this shit always freeze? Why? What the flutch is happening? What the fuck is happening?